What if your favorite school got to bring back one of their GOATs, one of the greatest of all time players to ever play at your university or your favorite school? What would it be like for Josh Allen to today come back to Wyoming and play 4 more years? What about a guy like Julian Edelman at Kent State, Tom Brady's best friend and the guy that he would throw to 15 times a game? Julian Edelman was the quarterback in college at Kent State. He was a darn good quarterback. What would it look like if Mean Joe Green, who the North Texas Mean Green was named after, played defensive tackle for North Texas? What about guys like Ben Roethlisberger at Miami of Ohio, Myles Garrett, Tim Tebow, Christian McCaffrey, Justin Herbert, Derrick Henry, Micah Parsons, Fred Warner at BYU? Even think about Eastern Michigan and Max Crosby. What if he was terrorizing the MAC? Could he help lead them to a MAC championship? The list goes on and on and on. I created one player for each school to be added to their team to go along with today's team. The year we start is not 2024, it would be 2025. So it would be next fall. So guys like Dylan Raiola, Drew Aller would still be around. Arch Manning, imagine Bijan Robinson and Arch Manning pairing together. Please understand that when I say GOAT, these aren't the only GOATs from these universities. For instance, Jim Brown is one of the GOATs of all time. He's in the top 3 in a lot of people's voting for Syracuse. But for content purposes, for fun purposes, how about Donovan McNabb? He was a GOAT at Syracuse, so he'll be the quarterback for Syracuse. So know when I made these choices, I did my best to pick the best GOAT from that school, but weighing heavily on the decision was recency bias. So if you would join me on this ride as we go through the 2025 season and we find out who is going to rise up, who is going to be one of those teams that kind of come out of nowhere. Maybe they're led by Brian Urlacher, great linebacker from New Mexico, or maybe they're led by LaDainian Tomlinson from TCU. You never know. Who's going to win the Heisman? That's another big question. So take a look at the preseason Heisman watch. It has Donovan McNabb at 1, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Jared Goff, and Tim Tebow at 5. Surprisingly, none of these guys are on the All-American list. So Clemson comes in at 1st, Ohio State 2nd, Miami is 3rd, then it goes Georgia, Oregon, Boston College snuck in there, and they just may have a quarterback that, if you guys don't know who he is, you'll have to Google him. He made an epic play against Miami, I believe. SMU, surprisingly at 7th. They may have a running back that you guys will remember. NC State, surprisingly, in at 8. Texas A&M, USC, Nebraska may just have the most dominating defensive tackle that I've ever seen play in college. Ole Miss, South Carolina, Alabama, Kentucky, Notre Dame, Michigan, Utah, Baylor, Penn State, Texas Tech. You already know who's at quarterback for Texas Tech. Auburn, Missouri, Va Tech, and the Colorado Buffs come in at 25. Any of your teams could win or could get into the top 12. So guys, we are in week 3. Here are the new Heisman Trophy candidates, if you will. Carnell Tate, wide receiver from Ohio State. So they're number 1, and they had 4 guys in the Heisman. See how much the top 25 has changed. So Ohio State is now 1. Miami fell from 2 to 11. Virginia Tech has moved up. Baylor moves up a few spots, as does USC and Texas Tech. Florida State jumps into the top 25. Kentucky falls after they lose to Tennessee, and LSU jumps into the top 25. Just on a little side note here, guys, as you guys know, I'm using Alabama for this video. Even though recruiting is not a big part of this video, I wanted you to check out the class that I had for Alabama. But first of all, this past year, we went through a year and Alabama went 5-7 and they lost half a star and didn't have a great recruiting class. I went ahead and did it manually, and look at all those 5 stars that I've gotten for Alabama. So if you want to know how to get 15 plus 5 stars, I do have a video coming out very soon, and it'll explain everything as to how I do that. And it's pretty simple. I stumbled across it whenever I'm a better program. It helps me immensely with recruiting. So to check in before week 14, Ty Simpson, the quarterback for Alabama, is first in the Heisman Trophy. Connor Wegman is second. Avery Johnson is third. Patrick Mahomes, forgive the picture, and then Malaki Riley. So UAB right now, even with one loss, they're 14. They would sneak in, play Penn State. Miami would play Oregon. Ohio State would play Alabama. Georgia would play Notre Dame. Doug Flutie and Boston College would play the winner of UAB and Penn State. Myles Garrett and Texas A&M would play the winner of Miami and Oregon. Robert Griffin III would play the winner of Ohio State and Alabama. And Aiden Hutchinson in Michigan play the winner of Georgia and Notre Dame. So that's how it's looking right now. Let's go to some of the conference standings to see how some of your guys' teams are doing. ACC, Boston College, Miami, North Carolina State, North Carolina are atop those. UAB, of course, is atop theirs, along with Charlotte, Florida Atlantic, North Texas. Big 12, Baylor is on top. Big 10, Michigan, Oregon, Penn State, all tied at the top. Conference USA, Liberty in Western Kentucky. New Mexico State, 8-3, and UTEP, 8-3. FBS Independence. Notre Dame is the only one of interest, really, 10-1. The MAC, Buffalo and Miami are tied for first, 5-2. Mountain West Conference, New Mexico, Boise State, and Utah State all have 6-1 records. I don't really know what to say about the Pac-2. The SEC, Texas A&M is 7-0, with Alabama second at 6-1. The Sun Belt, Louisiana is 6-1. So here goes the SEC championship game, number 3 versus number 1. SEC champions. So Derrick Henry and the Alabama Crimson Tide take down Myles Garrett and the Texas A&M Aggies. Heisman Trophy winner Ty Simpson. I had nothing to do with that. The Alabama Crimson Tide produces another Heisman Trophy winner. Robert Griffin III finished 4th in the Heisman. Baylor finished 2nd. UAB lost to Charlotte, so they fell, but just to 15. And Dominic and Sue was 2nd in the Lombardi Award. In state, 4th best linebacker. Brian Urlacher, the great Chicago Bear from the New Mexico Lobos, finished 6th. Let's take a look quickly at the CFB bracket. It's pretty much the same. The only changes I see are Liberty's in there, USC's in there, and that's it. Here's the first team All-American list. You probably recognize some names on there as we go down. Aiden Hutchinson from Michigan. Max Crosby from Eastern Michigan. So the left end and right end are held by guys from Michigan. Mean Joe Green from the North Texas Mean Green. And Dominic and Sue. And again, forgive me for the photos and the numbers. I tried to get the numbers on point and the photos, but I only had a handful, sometimes one photo to use. So I did the best I could do. But Micah Parsons, Ray Lewis, Charvarius Ward, Diego Pavia, New Mexico State, Vanderbilt great. But first, New Mexico State great. Jason Taylor, ex-Miami Dolphin and Akron great. Myles Garrett, Aaron Jones, and who do we have here? Justin Jefferson. Will Liberty beat Texas A&M in an upset 27-21? USC in a mild upset over Georgia 31-28. Oregon beat down Michigan 45-21. Nebraska beat Ohio State and CJ Stroud 38-29. This game is over. Alabama leads 52-3. You would think that it was all Derrick Henry, but Ty Simpson, the Heisman Trophy winner for Alabama, had a monster day. USC just scores a touchdown right there. Xavier Jordan. And Amon-Ra St. Brown was pretty much shut down today. I believe he had one catch for 6 yards, and I believe Derrick Henry has just over 100 yards rushing on the day. There he is. Winner of this game will play the winner of the Liberty Penn State game, in Alabama has won the Sugar Bowl and will advance the next round. 4th and 13. This is the game right here. Oh my God. His receiver almost came up with it off the drop by the Penn State defender, and then the Liberty receiver dropped it. What a turn of events. Penn State defense has been solid, but Liberty's gotten their yards. It's not like they've been just shut out completely. Malik Willis is a big part of that. He not only can throw, but he's at different points in the game, he's made big runs for first downs for them. And like right there, he ran till he found a receiver open. Liberty, the 12th seed in this tournament, upset number 5 Texas A&M and Myles Garrett. So 4th and 9 for Liberty. That's officially it. Drew Aller will just take a knee. And the Rose Bowl goes to the Nittany Lions, 27-10. Micah Parsons had 13 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, and 3.5 sacks. Now that's a day. That's bringing your lunch pail. So Micah Parsons helps on the defense, as well as Abdul Carter with his 4 sacks. Malik Willis, 29 of 39, 255 yards, no touchdown passes, 1 INT. He had 22 carries for minus 10 yards and a TD. Obviously, that includes sacks, so it's not a very good indicator of rushing yardage like the NFL. So the score with 4 minutes left in the game is Baylor 65, Nebraska 43. Now let me just say that Raiola, super sophomore, brought his A game. He accounted for at least 4 touchdowns for Nebraska. And then Dominic and Sue did his part on the defensive line, but who was unstoppable was Robert Griffin III. He just would not stop Robert Griffin. If he's not the MVP of this game, then I don't know what MVPs are. The one thing I'll say about the Nebraska offensive line, which I was a little surprised with, I didn't think Baylor's defensive front 7 was that strong, but Raiola now has been sacked 12 times. Baylor faithful, tell me about your defense. There goes RG3. When you think you have him contained, he'll run for 10 or 15 yards. Makes everything so much easier for everybody else on the team. Baylor has scored 78 points on the most dominant defensive tackle I've ever seen in my life. Baylor will move on to the winner of Oregon and Miami. So Justin Herbert led Oregon versus Ray Lewis led Miami. That should be a great game. Oh my gosh. Just go down. And I think these are only 10-minute quarters. They're not like 15-minute quarters or 12-minute quarters. Baylor just put up an 86 spot, 86-50. That is a shellacking. Robert Griffin had 9 TD passes. And Dominic and Sue had 8 total tackles, 5 tackles for loss. It's pretty early where I am, so excuse me, but I thought I hit record and I didn't. But Oregon beats up on Miami, and as you can see, especially in the first quarter, they went up 24-0, and Miami kind of went with them blow for blow, but they could never come back from that 24-point deficit that Oregon put up on them in the first quarter. Oregon ran 70 times for 334 yards and 4 touchdowns. Miami, 31 carries, only 97 yards and 2 touchdowns. Justin Herbert, it looks like, had 175 yards passing. And Nicholas Fadiato, it appears, had 420 passing yards. He is the transfer from Middle Tennessee State that came over to Miami in the transfer portal. He threw for 420 yards, so it looks like he did all he could do. And then Ray Lewis had 20 tackles today. 2 tackles for loss and .5 sacks. Justin Herbert surprisingly only threw for 175 yards. He was 18 of 20, one touchdown pass, no interceptions. But check out Oregon's rushing. Jordan James, a senior from Nashville, had 39 carries, 196 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And then Justin Herbert actually had 25 carries for 121 yards and 1 TD. And I suspect that was a lot of RPOs, probably set up for Dylan Gabriel. Oregon will go on to play Baylor. So it'll be Justin Herbert versus Robert Griffin III. And then in the other bracket, it will be Alabama versus Penn State. So Derrick Henry in Alabama against Micah Parsons, Drew Aller, and Penn State. It should be a fantastic Final Four. First of all, I sincerely apologize for spelling Robert Griffin's last name incorrectly. I knew it was an IN. Back to the game, as you can see, Oregon has a commanding lead, 38-24 over Baylor. Robert Griffin has done his best, as have the Baylor Bears. Oregon has just been too strong so far for Baylor. Baylor is making an effort to come back and at least tie this game, but there's just over 2 minutes left, so we'll see what they can do. Uncharacteristically, Griffin has been sacked a lot of times today. Oregon's front seven has been tenacious and really corralled Robert Griffin today. So Baylor gets a touchdown right there with an extra point. They'll be within 7 points. I'm sure Oregon will run the ball here in attempts to run the clock out. This has been a great game. First game of basically what is the Final Four of college football playoffs. We're here at the Peach Bowl. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, not sponsored, of course. And another one I missed was Justin Herbert wearing gloves. So that's your final, folks. Oregon narrowly beats Baylor, but they beat them to go to the national championship game. Jordan James with 187 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. Robert Griffin III was 30 of 36, 266 yards, 1 TD. And then he had 23 carries for 133 yards and a TD. He did have a fumble. And Justin Herbert, 24 of 31, 310 yards. No touchdown passes and 2 picks. So not the greatest game for him. He did have 128 yards on 23 carries and a touchdown. So again, he runs the ball well. So we'll see Oregon against Alabama or Penn State. Alabama up 27-10 with 2:30 left in the fourth quarter. Penn State trying to drive to make it close, but it is a 3-score game. This game can be described as a defensive fest. Both offenses struggled to get going, and it was mainly because of the pressure in the backfield on the quarterbacks. And you saw that right. 27 sacks in the game. That's got to be a record. Yeah, anytime you hold the ball for that long, you're going to get sacked. 4th and 22, and yet another sack. 29 total sacks. Alabama will go on to the national championship to face Oregon. Derrick Henry only had 14 carries, 99 yards, 7 yards per carry. Derrick Henry had 1 catch for 4 yards. Micah Parsons, 10 tackles, 5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. But look at Abdul Carter, 14 tackles, 8 tackles for loss, and 7 sacks. Now that is a day right there. This has been a crazy national championship game. It's been back and forth. Now Justin Herbert is driving Oregon down the field. Alabama up 37-31 with 2:35 remaining in the game. Both teams have all 3 timeouts. Herbert has all the time in the world. He runs the best he can. 3rd and 4 for Oregon. He's going to run again. Touchdown Oregon. Touchdown Ducks. Justin Herbert runs it in, of all things. They're tied 37. Whoa, he elevated. That was amazing. Did you guys see that? Still time for Alabama to come back. They have the Heisman Trophy winning quarterback, and then they have a 2-back system with Derrick Henry as one of their backs. And Alabama takes a sack, 2nd and 21. They are deep in their own territory. Get it off to their tight end. Get out of the back of the end zone. He heaves it deep. but the Oregon defender, number 13, knocks it down. So it's 4th and 14. Alabama's going for it. Interception, Oregon. So the Heisman Trophy winner may have thrown the pick that ends the game. Jaleel Florence for Oregon with the interception. Yeah, Law had no separation right there. Alabama does have 3 timeouts. 1:29 left in the 4th quarter. There's the second timeout. It's 3rd down and 7. Herbert back to pass. He's going to run. He's going to slide. Staying inbounds. Gets the 1st down. They're just going to kneel it out. This national championship is going to the Oregon Ducks. And Phil Knight, congratulations, Oregon, and all the Oregon fans. I feel bad for Alabama. I know they have tons of fans. Ty Simpson did all he could do, but Oregon did just enough. Justin Herbert, the player of the game. If you guys are not subscribers, please hit that subscribe button and smash that like button. Oh, and hit that noti bell on the subscribe button so that you get all notifications of videos that I put out. If you guys like this video and think it would be fun to have a second and maybe third and maybe 4th video, every player that I made for each team in NCAA football are freshmen, so they should at least be coming back for 3 years. I know the transfer portal messes things up, so cross your fingers that your player does not transfer to another school. There's nothing I can do to stop that, but let me know in the comments if you like this video, if you'd like to see more like this. Follow me on Twitter. Also, my Discord information is down below. I just started it, so we don't have very many subscribers, but we'd love for you to be a part of that. I appreciate you guys joining me. Thank you so much for your guys' support. I appreciate you guys more than you know. I love you guys. And just know that you guys are made for a purpose, and hope to talk to you guys soon. Take care.